Welcome to Ready Aiders TV. Get ready to be inspired. Our show today features an extraordinary educator who has devoted her whole life into shaping young minds and creating a real impact in the world, from instilling knowledge through education to providing unwavering support. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I am your host, Lynette Mumo. Hello, how are you?
I'm fine.
Kindly introduce yourself to our viewers.
Yes. My name is Florence Muchiri. I am a teacher at Citi Autism unit. So basically, I teach learners with special needs and specifically those with autism at Citi.
Thank you. So, what inspired you to become a teacher?
Um, when I was a regular a teacher or a teacher in a regular classroom, and then after some time, I changed and became a teacher in special needs education. And what inspired me most was the fact that as an English teacher in a regular classroom, I realized that there were some learners who could not improve. However much I wanted my mini score to shoot, there are learners who could not improve on their mini score. And so I was trying to find out what was wrong with these learners. That time I had not known about learners with special needs. And so I tried to find out more about these learners. I discovered that there are those learners who are slow learners or they have learning difficulties. And as I continued, I also learned that I came to learn that there are those learners with special needs in education, and they were not achieving much from the regular classroom. So that is what inspired me, and then I decided to go to learn more about these children, and so I enrolled for such learning.
So, what makes a special needs teacher different from the regular teacher?
Yeah, a special needs teacher is different from a regular teacher because one, you have to do just a bit more than what a regular teacher does because you have to be very kind. Yeah?
Going an extra mile.
You have to go an extra mile and have a lot of love for these kids. And because it's you who has chosen, first of all, you choose. It's you who has chosen to be a special needs teacher. And so you understand very well about these learners. And so you have to go that extra mile and care for them in an extra way, love them or show them, embrace them so that you become friends. And so that when you start teaching them, then they are able to also accept you because they will not just accept any stranger. You have to get used to them. They have to know you. They'll have to get used to you. And then you are able to do good work with them. And then, of course, you have to be patient with them. And, of course, empathize. Yeah? You put yourselves into their shoes and take them the way they are, so that the difficulties that they are getting, you are able to just fit there and help them to acquire the skills that you want, regardless of the time that they take. Yeah.
What do special needs teachers do to help these learners? Like for you, what do you do to help your students?
So to help my students, just as I have said, that I have to be very gentle and, of course, adjust to their conditions, yeah, and you easily adjust because particularly learners with the autism, sometimes they come with moods, and they just cannot learn at that particular time. So you have to give them time, and then you work according to their pace, right? Because they cannot just learn when they are in such moods. So you also use simple language, yeah. You use language that they understand. You don't overload. You don't give so many instructions at the same time. So you give simple language so that they understand. And if it is a task that you have given them, then you have to give them some more time and also support or assistance so that they accomplish or complete the tasks that you have given them to. And then they should, as a special needs teacher, have to be predictable. for these learners with autism. These are learners who have routine. They are routine persons. So what they are used to doing, they like following that program.
They have repetitive
Yeah,
interests.
they have, if they know after coming into the classroom, they are expected to clean the classroom, then that is what they want to do every day when they
So it's so
when
hard
they
to
come.
change the routine.
They are routine persons. We try a bit to try and change them because, of course, all days cannot be the same, but they like routine.
So what I'm getting is that these children living with autism also have different abilities and styles, just like the normal or the regular
Yes.
children. Interesting. So what challenges have you faced teaching children living with autism?
So, teaching children with autism comes with its own challenges.
Yeah.
One, because of course each learner is different from the other one, and you have to approach them differently. And so, for example, in our setup, the greatest challenge that we face is having a variety of learners with special needs in the same classroom. So you have to give IEP or individualized education program to each and every one of them. And of course, because of the scarcity of the human resource or the teachers, then you find that then the work becomes too much, and then you are not able to give every learner the perfect or the expected attention as you should, because you would need a lot of time to handle each at a time and learn with them what they need to, and then which is different from what the other learner requires. So those are some of the challenges that we face in a classroom. Then of course we do not have, in our setup, we do not have all the resources that we need. Of course the government has tried to provide the resources for learners with special needs,
But not
but
100%.
obviously it's not 100%, but we make do with what we have, and the learners, of course, they are benefiting. Yeah, sometimes the way you would like the learners do even at home, sometimes you find that the environment at home is not as presentable as you'd want the learners to acquire. So these are some of the challenges. So you want the learner to acquire these some skills, and then when they go home, they are not able to duplicate the same. So those are some of the challenges that we face. Of course, in a class we have so many learners, and the ratio is one teacher is to so many. When it's supposed to be one half teacher is to 3 or 5. You find that maybe I'm handling about 20 learners with autism. That's a big challenge, and but they have to learn.
How do you overcome some of these challenges?
Yeah, some of these challenges, for example, in our setup, we usually have some shadow teachers. So as I give instructions, or I tell the learners what to do, the tasks, when I present the tasks, then I have some shadow teachers who will assist the learners to accomplish these tasks. So that's how we have been able to manage some of these issues.
Okay. What are some education interventions for learners living with autism?
Some intervention measures for these learners who live with autism. Of course, we want early diagnosis. That is one of the best ways to approach the issue. Early diagnosis will lead to having the early intervention measures. So when the learner is diagnosed early that has autism, then of course the intervention measures that we have, they start early, and then it is easier to help that learner. And some of these interventions will include also that early assessment, educational assessment. We usually have educational assessment centers where these learners go so that they are placed in the correct schools, the correct schools. So when they are brought to the school, then ourselves, we also assist the learner once again so that we place them in the correct class where they can benefit or where they can they are learning. So when they have early educational assessment and they are placed early, then also other strategies that we employ will assist this learner to start early in getting the correct skills that they should live with or that can help them in their lifelong. Yeah. And then, of course, we have some like dietary interventions. Learners with autism specifically require some special diet. There are some things that they cannot eat. There are some things that they cannot drink. For example, to them, wheat, anything wheat is no, because of the gluten aspect. So even as we give them a special diet here for autism, we also encourage the parents at home to follow that diet. Also, they do not take sugary things or sugar at all, because it makes them become very hyperactive. So we also expect the parents also, or encourage the parents to avoid such a thing. So the dietary intervention is very crucial for learners with autism. Then here we also have occupational therapy. Occupational therapy will help these learners with autism to reduce some of the symptoms that they have, or the conditions. And some of them are like hypersensitivity. When they go for therapy, they are helped because some of them are not able to touch some kind of surface. So how are they helped? Or they have some phobia. So through occupational therapy, they are given assistance. Some is hypersensitivity. And I've said that hyperactivity is they do not stay still, yeah. They move up and down. So when they go for therapy, then they are given some activities that will help them to grow, right? And then at least they do not become very hyperactive.
So you've said the earlier the problem is detected, the earlier the therapy, the better the child as they grow.
Yes, the earlier the therapy starts,
The intervention.
and the intervention, yes, and the earlier the dietary interventions begin, the better for that learner. Because of course, if the hyperactivity is reduced, that learner is going to be able to be still in class, improve the attention span, and then they are able to acquire the skills that the teacher wants them to acquire.
I find it interesting that the school, in as much as they are providing that they care so much about the diet of these kids, they also pass that information to the parents. But what if these parents don't follow that? Or you make sure, how do you know that?
Yes, we just encourage learners. For example, if ourselves, because we follow the correct diet. If a learner goes and takes all sugars and take all wheat, of course they become very unsettled, very hyperactive. So when they come to school with such tendencies, we just call the parent. We talk. We talk.
So you call
we
them.
involve the parent. Yeah.
Okay,
We talk and then try to inquire, what is this child eating at home? And if the parent is open enough, he or she will tell us that they have taken a bit of wheat, some biscuits.
Yeah,
some,
because I know for some
tea.
it's not easy to follow
Yes,
that.
which is really a challenge to us. But generally, most of our parents, because we do educate them, we do tell them why it is important for them to follow the diet. Most of them do follow the diet, and we've not had major challenges on that.
That's really good.
Yes.
So what are the best methods for you as a teacher? When you're teaching these children living with autism, what are some of these best methods that you use to teach them?
Okay. Some of the methods that we use in the classroom for our learners. Of course, we use the multisensory approach. The multisensory approach means that we utilize all the senses. For learners with autism or with special needs, there are some senses that are stronger than others, or they'll work best in one learner, and another one will work better in another, or to another learner. So we use that multisensory approach, and we use, like for example, the visual aids. We employ the most pictures. We use pictures, for the learners, so that they are able to see what you want them to see. And after they have seen it, of course, they can hear. And most of them, they do have, they may not have a language to express themselves, but they understand what you're telling them. So when you talk to them, maybe you show them this is a cat, yeah. You show them, they will see it in the picture or in the realia. You may have a cat, and then they hear it's a cat, of course. So you've used the sight, you've used the hearing, and with that picture, they are even going to touch and or draw the cat. So we use many senses so that they may be able to acquire the skill that you want them to acquire. And of course, I've said you avoid overload. So it is each issue, each part, you break down the task, each task a smaller task at a time, so that by the end of the day, they will acquire the whole task.
So what I'm getting is that most of them are visual learners. They learn mostly through seeing and writing. Interesting. So why is it so difficult to learn when you are autistic?
Yeah, it is quite a challenge for learners with autism to learn, like regular learners. One thing you know that autism, the condition autism, it interferes with the communication of the child and the way they socialize with other people.
The social interactions.
Yeah, the way they interact with other people, it's greatly affected. And you know, learning is through communication, mostly through communication. And so when it is affected, definitely the learning is interfered with. Apart from that, of course, autism comes with very many symptoms and characteristics which also hinder learning to take place as easily as we'd expect. We have said that most of these learners, they may be hyperactive or impulsive. There are those that are so quiet, they do not want to take part in any activity, however much you want, and you have to work extra hard to make them carry or participate in a given activity. Then there are those that are very hyperactive, then they are not able to concentrate even for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So before they can acquire that skill, then it's going to be an uphill task. So that is why you find that it is very difficult for them to learn because of that low attention span. Then, of course, some have unusual sleeping habits or even eating habits. Some will not sleep throughout the night. We usually have cases of children who will come and sleep most of the day. Why? The classroom. Because at night, when you call the parents, they will tell you that they did not sleep even a wink at night. That's because of these conditions. And sometimes some of them are in some medication, so it may make them also not sleep. So when they come to class, they may not be able to concentrate, and that makes it difficult for them. And of course, some have mood reactions and emotional reactions. It also makes it very difficult for them to learn.
Does that explain why we have different types of autism? Like some are on the mild spectrum, others are so...
Yes. Wow. Yeah. I said that every learner with autism is different in the way that even they respond to learning, because they have different characteristics. Some of these characteristics, you call them some stereotype behavior or the repetitive kind of behavior. So you'll find that maybe one is hitting oneself, which you have to work on that first so that he stops hitting himself, or maybe throwing items. You also have to work on that. It's a repetitive. Some may not work without some pointed things like this. You find them correcting them around. Anytime they come across something sharp like this, they will correct. And before you can make them not correct these things, it also takes time. So this repetitive characteristics also poses a lot of challenge to these learners with autism.
So how can we raise awareness about autism?
Yeah, we can raise awareness about autism out there, even you right now, because you've known about this learner with autism. you can tell people out there that there are this group of learners that maybe require some intervention or some assistance. And so you first of all learn to and familiarize yourself with them. You understand them. Of course, visit it so that yourself you're well acquainted with them, you know them, so that you are able to tell others about them. So get yourself actively involved in supporting them or supporting the activities that have to do with learners with the autism. And maybe like if there is a walk, like we are planning to have a walk in June, we welcome you here to come and maybe assist us in what we have. We want to have a fundraiser so that we are able to have some more resources to help these learners with autism.
Yeah, and raising awareness about autism is really important because most people have stereotypes that this is witchcraft, this is not normal. So raising awareness that they are perfectly normal like us, it's just a condition that they are facing, which doesn't make them less human. You get?
Yes.
So raising autism awareness is really important, which leads me to the question: how do you think we can maybe promote this issue of raising awareness in workplaces?
Of course, one, as you have correctly said, that autism is a condition, and that is why we say that you don't call them autistic children. You call them persons living with autism. Because when you call them autistic, you're putting a label on them. It is a condition, it is them. It's not them. Them, they are human beings, but living with that condition. So we need to just understand that and then go and explain to others that these children or these persons living with autism are no lesser human beings. They are just like us. The education that is needed for the regular learners in quotes is also required for the learners with the autism. They should be provided with the learning, medical facilities, they should attention they should be given, and any other aspect that human needs require, they also require that.
Yeah.
So we should not shy away from being seen with them or walking with them or working with them. Even in our workplaces, we encourage that
More
in our
inclusivity.
workplace, you include them and give them a task that they can. You may not give them so much, but give them a task that they can accomplish. And even them, they feel fulfilled. And it brings, yes, they feel part of the society, and it makes them happy. So let us not keep them aside. With the few aspects that they have, then we have to accommodate them. Yes. Because it's a condition that they are living with, and it does not prevent them from working. They can work on one task and excel in it. And some of them are very good in some of the activities, like sports. There are some who are good swimmers here, and they can swim excellently. There are some who are good in music, and they play keyboard. So why don't we give them an opportunity to go and do that with a little supervision? Yeah. They will be able to acquire, they will be able even to earn a living.
I like the inclusivity in this environment, you know. It's a regular school with a autism unit, which is so interesting because of the aspect of, you know, equality in education and all that. So maybe as we wind up, you can maybe tell us how you use technology in your learning process.
Yes, of course, at this age time, the way to go is digital era.
Yeah.
And it's the way to go. So we use the digital gadgets, of course, to teach them, or they learn them. I have some here, and every learner has one, and we use them. So for example, if I'm teaching numbers, of course there are some dancing numbers here, and it makes learning interesting for them. Yeah. So they'll be able to learn about these numbers or letters or even some shapes. So every aspect. And when we want to feel good and get entertained, we use standard dance.
And
with
considering
music.
Most of them are visual learners, so
Yes.
it becomes way more easier for them to understand.
It becomes very important for them, and they like them. in fact, most of the learning we do it through these tablets, and it becomes very interesting.
Wow.
Because they are able to acquire the skills that we want. Even some of the skills, you see them being performed, and then we want them to emulate that. So as they emulate, they are also learning, and I think they have come in very handy for us, those that are dealing with learners with autism. Yes.
Thank you so much for making time for us.
Yes.
It was an engaging interview to get to understand more about what really happens in a classroom, or what you really go through as a special needs teacher. You know, it's really a lot for us to understand and to raise awareness about this issue, because they're just normal people like us. It's just a condition that makes them different. But apart from that, they're just normal people like us. And what would you like to add, maybe to tell the audience before we wind up?
Yes, for the audience, I would encourage that if there are learners at home, maybe who are not coming to school, I would encourage the parents to bring them to school. And particularly here at the Citi Autism Unit, we have a variety of the learning strategies. And even we have programs like the integration. There are some learners that we find that they can learn with the other regular learners, and we put them in the same classroom with other learners. And so that's a plus to those that are able to be integrated. And then there are those that have to be taught or to undergo some therapy, so that they can reduce the hyperactivity, and then they are able to learn. So here we are endowed, let me say, and we are ready to take all these learners with autism. And we also have another unit of learners with mental handicaps. So we also welcome all the parents who have such learners. Do not keep them at home. Let them come here, and they will be assisted, and they will have learning. It's a good school. Thank you.
Thank you for joining our show. It was an honor to speak to Madam Florence, our incredible guest, who has given us more inspiration and more insights concerning this issue of autism. For our viewers at home, thank you for tuning in, and make sure you catch up with us on our subsequent shows to get more inspiration and more insights. Thank you.